Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to do a bit of a trade analysis for round 2 of the SuperCoach season. And as you can see, I've landed on something a bit different to buy, hold, sell, that sort of stuff that a lot of people would suggest, and tried to go with something a bit catchy, I think. So we're going to go with tops, chops, traps and slaps. And I'm going to stumble over that throughout the year, no doubt, but maybe with a bit of practice, it'll become easier. So essentially how it works is sort of like a buy, sell, hold, avoid type scenario. Other YouTube channels do it. That's where I stole the idea from. But essentially, I guess we're going to look in at is, sort of popular trade in and trade out options. And if the trade in option is a good option where you think, well, then that's tops. You get the thumbs up, and proceed as you wish. The trade out, if that's a good idea, well, then they're getting the chop, aren't they? So got the old axe back from the stock market videos last year. So for those longer term viewers of the channel, you'll know all about the stock market and those symbols. So I guess the trade-ins that probably aren't the best idea, well, they're probably a bit of a trap and we want to avoid them. So I've got the trap symbol there. That was, that was a common one in the stock market as well last year. And I guess, where we've got people trading out players that they really shouldn't trade out, they should keep them, well, then they're going to get a slap, aren't they? Wake up to yourself. Don't, sort of over react to what, particularly this week, one bad score. In saying all of that, it is only round one. Round two. We've just had round one. So for a lot of our players, they've only had one price that's going to impact their cash amount going forward. So for most of our players, we can probably have a second look. We don't need to hit the panic button, although there is a couple of obvious trade outs. So obviously we do need some options for trading in. So particularly this week, I was definitely struggling for a few options in some of the lines. And obviously, I'll allude to that as we go through. But yeah, just I guess for the sake of the video, we've tried to fit one player from every position in each of these categories. Obviously, there's stronger shouts in some lines or some positions than others. But yeah, we'll get stuck into it. So we'll start off with the hookers, just top to bottom in SuperCoach order. And so I guess the tops pick this week I've got is Jacob Little. So scored well on the weekend, played some good minutes for the Dragons. I guess the Dragons as a team looked quite good too. So I don't think his score was too reliant on attacking stats. So there might even be a little bit of upside in the pick. But, probably hooker isn't the strongest position for trading this week. But again, we're trying to fit, a top, a chop, a trap, and a slap in. So Jacob Little's my nomination there. In terms of the chop, I've gone with Brendan Hand. So essentially just tried to look for, I guess, the most popular option that's in teams that needs to go. I'd imagine the majority of teams that Brendan Hands are in those ghost teams that sort of put the team together and then forget about it. And, they just sit there for the season. But I think if you do have Hands, he's on the bench. Lussick played pretty well, and I think, if his match fitness can build up a bit, he could transition to an 80-minute player. So I guess for that reason, I'd be chopping Brandon Hands. And then it might seem counterintuitive, but I've actually got the trap symbol on Joey Lussick after I just pumped him up, that he could extend to an 80-minute player. So I think the reason for this is, again, it's not overreacting to one score. His score was quite good, but I think the Bulldogs made Para look very good on the weekend. Just giving them the ball, So, just giving him opportunities to attack. Um, I think obviously I don't think it's the worst buy in, but we've got to put someone in there. And I've just thought, well, you know, if you're banking on him to get 60 points every week, you may be disappointed in some weeks. And for our slap, we've got Harry Grant. So, if you're trying to trade out a proven keeper at this stage, someone who, you know, has been miles above anyone else in his position for the last couple of years, well, you need a slap, dead set. These guys will come good. Unfortunately, just all the sort of high end gun keeper type options failed to fire on the weekend. Um, in I guess the halves and hooker, there was a couple of fullbacks that went all right. To be fair, it wasn't just Ponga playing fullback. But yeah, don't trade these players. If you need to make money to bring in players for other positions, look elsewhere. So onto the front row forwards and the tops pick for this week, and I've got the best buy symbol on him because I think this is the one if you haven't got on him to get Terrell May in. He there was a bit of uncertainty about his role, which is the reason why I didn't bring him in. But looks like he's going to have the same role as what he did last year, which is come in after the initial sort of blows have been made, and he can play 50 minutes and offload and bust tackles and do the business. So, and I think particularly with our chop option, again, this is probably the most obvious one for this week, but Spencer Lenu's getting 8 weeks off. So, that only strengthens Terrell May's sort of role in the team, even with Rhea Hargreaves coming back. I think it's going to be a like for like swap, and you're going to see, Terrell May with a similar sort of role in the team um, indefinitely. So, get in May, get out Spencer Lenu. Obviously, if you're doing that straight swap, you will have to do a second trade, which isn't ideal. But I guess if you can swing it another way, then happy days. I guess there's the trap again, probably not the biggest trap on this list, but Tom Flegler. And this is purely because he did score well on the weekend and played good minutes. And I think he will continue that role. But he did score a try, so just be mindful if you're bringing him in expecting 70 points every week that you're opening yourself up for disappointment. So take the sort of try and line break away. He's around 45, which is probably, you know, fair to, he could push up to 50 and plus most weeks. So that's reasonable. But I think, for his price point, I'd rather bring in May. And for the slap, I've gone with Ruben Cotter. So, a proven gun in the past. I think Peyton sort of put the rack in the queue pretty early against the Dolphins. Not that I saw the game. I'm just sort of going off the minute sort of spread and the scoreline of the game. But yeah, definitely parked the Ferraris in the garage, or I guess really the tractors between Cotter and Talmalolo. And gave the guys like McIntyre and Granville quite a lot of minutes on the field. So again, don't panic because of one underwhelming score. All right, have a look, and next week, if you need to, you can potentially move him on. So in the second row, I've gone with Ben Travojevic as the tops pick. Um, he's one of the most popular players in the game already, but I did also see he's the most popular traded in amongst second rowers this week, and I think that's correct. So if you're part of the minority that doesn't have him, just get him in. He's going to play this week. Schuster's going to come through reserve grade, and even then, I think Schuster will be doing well to find his way straight into the first grade starting team. He may be doing a bit of bench utility type work. Is my thoughts on that. The trade outs, I guess another obvious one with Jai Arrow. It's definitely out for a few weeks, potentially out for the season, which is disastrous. Um, so yeah, an easy one to get rid of. Obviously, if you've got him in the front row, he can easily go to May. If you've got some flexibility with Cotter, that could be another way to get to May. It's team dependent, but obviously there is plenty of great options in the mid price sort of range in the second row. I guess the trap I've got this week is around for Tyler Mariner. So obviously scored super well on the weekend. He looked really good to be fair, and I guess this is just me tossing up, what I think the Dragons will do. I think he will start off the bench. Luciano Leilua's named on the bench as well, and they've got Tom Eisenhuth in the starting spot. And from what I can sort of tell from watching the game on Saturday night, was it looks like Eisenhuth is a Shane Flanagan guy. Just rolls up his sleeves and does the work, no nonsense. And I think Flanagan really does enjoy having that on the field. So my feeling is he will start on the edge. He'll probably slide into the middle, and then they'll bring probably Leilua on the edge. I think for Taylor Mariner will become a middle forward, and for that reason, I think he's a bit of a trap. Although he will get one good price rise after his score, but it won't be as good as some of the other options available. And the slap, I guess, again, pretty obvious sort of one, I think. But people are trading out Piacora just because he went and got a head knock. Obviously, he won't get concussed every week, or let's hope not. So we started him for a reason. He's got the talent, he's got the job security, he's got the ability to make us lots of points in cash. It just didn't work out in round one. So don't panic on Piacora. Reverse that trade if you've done it. So at halfback, so this was another one where there's not really a lot of action this week. But for a trading, I did opt for, or sorry, a tops pick. Got to use the terminology, but Jamal Fogarty. So um, yeah, it looks like he's just the man at the Raiders. They've obviously gone with Strange at 5'8". So yeah, he's definitely taken on the workload as the experienced half. Um, and I guess, if all the attack's going to go through him, then there's every chance that he gets assists, he gets tries himself, he's kicking the goals. So, if you are looking for a budget option at halfback, I think Jamal Fogarty is your pick. In terms of the trade outs, I've gone with Matt Burton as much as this pains me. Sorry, the chop, Matt Burton. Obviously, an unabashed fan of Burton. Um, but the reality is that he's not the solo playmaker there at the Dogs anymore. They've got Drew Hutchinson that they can lean on. Um, and I guess as well, he's not kicking goals. Well, actually, he was kicking goals. I was thinking of Stephen Crichton not kicking goals. But I guess with the 15 and his rolling average as well, it's not ideal. So, yeah, had to pick someone. So sorry, Matt. Still love you, but you're chopped. I guess for the trap again, probably not the strongest shout, but going Luke Brooks. Obviously, went well over in Vegas, and I think will continue to go well for the Seagulls. Um, but I think I'd rather Fogarty as an option. Probably would rather. Um, trying to think what the other one was. I can't. It's completely gone from my mind. Um, yeah, now that I think about it more, I probably wouldn't have even had him. I probably would have had like Aiden Caesar there since he's on the bench this week. But I've already committed to it. So Luke Brooks is trap of the week in the halfback slot, but not saying that with any conviction. And for the slaps, I've put the two big dogs in. So a very rare double feature. Cleary, Hines. If you've got either, if you're like me and you've got both, again, don't hit the panic button. Just give yourself a slap and stick fat with the guns that are going to do the business across the year. Onto the 5/8. So the tops pick in the 5/8 slot this week, I've got Luke Metcalf. So played really well for the Warriors on the weekend. I guess the thing to forget, a lot of people think, oh, he found his way into the team halfway through the year last year, and you know, is he the first choice? The reality was last year he was probably going to be the first choice from the start of the year, but picked up an unfortunate injury. And I forget who was playing 5'8". It may have been Tamari Martin, but he actually had a good run of form, and so Metcalf just had to bide his time and wait until the spot became available. But ever since then, he's made it his own. So I think if you are looking for a mid-price option in the 5'8" slot, you can absolutely get on Metcalf. And the chop this week is Ezra Mam, so I guess a bit similar to a Matt Burton in that, a poor performance, admittedly. We don't want to panic, but the reality is that he did only score 13. His break even is quite high. Actually, I don't remember if it was 13. I've made up that number. I know it was low, but I think, if you do want to get out of the pick, considering especially there's a couple of cheaper options that have popped up, I think, definitely you could get out of Ezra Man. The trap this week, and again, this is one I'm actually tossing up as a trade option, but Max Plath from the Dolphins. So pretty rare we get a 5'8" under 300k that's named to start at lock. So named in the 13 jumper this week. Seems like he is playing that middle forward role. My only issue with that is that Ray Stone is only out for 1 week with the HI, or at least let's hope so, assuming everything goes to plan. So he may revert back to the bench in week 3. He may also be, that utility type player that, we need someone to fill in the halves or out in the centres, and they'll just plug him in there. So again, not the worst trap, but definitely just be mindful that the scoring, there is potential for scoring to be limited in the long term. And the slap this week in the 5'8" slot, I've gone with Ethan Strange. So obviously just didn't get any of the ball um, in the game on Thursday night. It all sort of went through Fogarty, but it's only his second game of first grade. He's only 19. He will take a little bit of time to get into it. So we can't expect that inconsistency. But at his price, his dual position flexibility, I think he's one you just have in your team, and he will make cash, and then eventually you can upgrade him when the time comes. But it's definitely not in round 2 before price changes of any description. Onto the centre wing, and so the tops pick this week is another May. So we've got Taylor May. Um, so one I was looking at fading in the preseason as a bit of an antipod, and it's blown up spectacularly in my face. I will admit. He obviously Penrith didn't score any tries on the weekend, any points at all, but he still walked away with about 60 points, and he looked the most dangerous player on the field for Penrith. So if that's his base and he can only go up from there, he's definitely one I want to get in. I might wait one more week and just reassess everyone, but I can see people wanting to get on, and I wouldn't begrudge you trading him in this week. On the trade out list, and I guess this somewhat contradicts the statements I've made about don't trade out the guns after 1 week, but I have nominated Jermaine Osako. And I think this is purely just because I have tipped the Dolphins to get the wooden spoon this year. I just think, the second year syndrome a little bit, but also teams will be more aware of what's going on. And as it's turned out, they've already had some misfortune with injuries. Wayne Bennett has been pretty swift with the axe, to be fair. Sean O'Sullivan gone, Tessie New gone. So, isn't afraid to change it up, which is great to see. But I just think, this year will be a bit more of a struggle for the Dolphins as they're a bit more of a known quantity. And as such, if you are looking to make some cash and you do need to trade out a gun, I could, see reason for it to be Jermaine Osako. And then the trap this week, and again, I don't think this is a trap, but it's more of a public service announcement. Zach Lavert from the Cowboys will not score 100 every week. Right, you take out his tries and his line breaks from those tries. He ends up at about a 50-point player, which is perfectly fine and serviceable at his price point. He will make some cash, but just don't bring him in expecting 100 points every week. Um, realistically, he could slide up here just as easily with Taylor May, given that they're both at that mid price point. They've both shown they can score points. Um, but again, just trying to create some content here. So he's the centre wing trap this week. And the slap is just, Greg Marzu in line with what we've talked about with Cleary, Hines, Grant. Don't give up on these guns after 1 week. Again, seems contradictory with Jermaine Osako sitting right above him. But, in general, hang on to those guns. They will come good. There's a reason why they're so expensive. And finally, fullback. So again, I wouldn't be suggesting a lot of trades in the fullback sort of position. But if I did have to bring in one this week, it would be Tom Trbojevic. So a big week for the May family and Turbo family in terms of this channel. Don't know if they watch, so they probably don't care. But yeah, he looked really good over in Vegas. He just missed out on scoring 2 tries. You add that to his score, he's probably number one after week one of the Supercoach season. So, definitely one that I'm watching and feeling scared about, not playing. But I've made my bed, and for the time being, I'm going to have to line it. In terms of the chops, I've got Keanu Kinney there. It's probably just a bit underwhelming along with the rest of the Titans last week. It's on the bye this week. The only issue if you trade him out is you do need cash to upgrade. And I guess ideally you'd be upgrading all the way to one of the premium options because you've got Turbo, you've got Latrell who turned up. Should have got a mention, I suppose, as well. Um, any of those gun players you can have. So you do need to find a lot of cash to make that happen. But I think for that reason is if you've made a mistake and started with Kinney, just cut your losses and go from there. The trap I've got on Tyrell Sloan. So I guess this is just based on past performance as a super coach player. Obviously 3 tries boosts his score right up. So again, just be mindful he won't score 3 tries every week. He can score a try, don't get me wrong, but I think if you're bringing him in as a cut price keeper, you'll be very disappointed. And again, along the theme of not trading out the guns, I've got Kalen Ponga as the slap. So don't overthink it. I can see the temptation to go to Turbo, but we all know what Kalen Ponga is about. We saw what he did last year. The Knights probably didn't cover themselves in glory last week, but they'll definitely improve, and you'll want to be on Kalen Ponga when that happens. So I think that sums it up for top, chops, slaps, and traps. I've got that in the wrong order, but that's fine. But yeah, obviously, if you've got any strong thoughts or opinions on any of these players, feel free to comment below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy this format. This is the first time I've sort of styled it like this. I have sort of done a, buy, keep, sell, avoid type setup previously, but yeah, give me some feedback on this style of content. Obviously, if you enjoy all the fantasy content, get on and subscribe. I just had a look before this video, and it was only 24 hours ago. I was celebrating 300. It's already gone up 310. So I don't think I ever remember getting 10 subscribers in one day. So it's thanks to all you guys that are getting involved, watching, subscribing, obviously, commenting. Yeah, so cheers for that. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.